Carmen Dell'Orefice. She's 91 years old, but if you only saw her picture, you'd probably guess 59, maybe even younger. It's not just how she looks, it's how she moves, the way she talks, the grace in her hands. She's not pretending to be young. She's showing us what age can be. And I remember sitting there, watching her, and thinking, if someone at 91 can still be radiant, still in love with life, still speaking about intimacy with pride and honesty, then why not me? Why not us? You see, I didn't make this video to praise beauty or chase youth. I made it because Carmen reminded me of something many of us forget, especially as we get older, that we still matter, that we're still allowed to feel alive, desired, seen, and that aging doesn't mean fading away. It can mean becoming more of who we really are. But I know, some days it doesn't feel that way. Some days you walk into a room and no one looks up. You speak, and people cut you off, as if your words don't carry weight anymore. You look in the mirror and wonder, is this really me? You try not to feel like a burden, but deep down, part of you already does. And it hurts, doesn't it? Not in a loud way, but quietly, slowly, like the light in your life is being dimmed without you even realizing it. But here's the truth. That light is still there. It just needs a little help shining through again. So today, I want to share 5 simple but powerful secrets that Carmen lives by. Things that have helped her stay strong, joyful, and deeply alive at 91. And I believe, if you open your heart, even just a little, they might just change something in you too. Let's begin. You know what Carmen says is the biggest secret behind her skin? It's not expensive treatments. It's not some magical cream with a French name. It's just 3 words she repeats with a little smile. Moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. At first, I thought she was joking. I mean, this is a woman who's modeled for nearly 8 decades. Surely, she's had access to all the world's finest skincare. And yes, Carmen is open about the fact that she once tried medical skin resurfacing and even silicone injections, nearly 50 years ago, when those procedures were rare and new. But what struck me was how she didn't cling to those things. What she holds on to is something much more grounded, daily habits of care and respect for her body. She keeps her routines simple. She drinks water throughout the day, not just when she's thirsty, but to stay ahead of dehydration. She applies moisturizer every time her skin feels dry, not just in the morning or at night, but whenever it needs it. And perhaps most surprisingly, she avoids wearing makeup unless absolutely necessary. Because, in her words, my skin needs to breathe. It deserves to rest. I'll admit, that part made me stop and think. I used to go to bed without moisturizing, thinking, what difference does it make at my age? But after watching Carmen, I decided to try one small thing. Just one. I took a small water bottle and placed it on my nightstand. That way, when I wake up in the morning, before coffee, before checking my phone, I take a long, slow drink. The first time I did it, I felt a strange sense of peace, like I was giving my body a gentle nudge. Here you go, I whispered to myself. Let's wake up gently. And over the next few days, something changed. My lips weren't as dry. My hands didn't feel like sandpaper in the morning. Even my energy felt different, like I'd pressed a little reset button inside me. It reminded me of something I'd long forgotten. This body, wrinkled, achy a little slower than before, it's still mine. And when I take care of it, even in the smallest ways, it responds. Not with miracles, but with gratitude. We often think self-care is selfish, or that it's for younger people. But the truth is, the older we get, the more our bodies need kindness. Not punishment, not criticism, just kindness. Carmen treats her skin the way one might treat a beloved garden, watering it regularly, giving it shade when it needs it, not forcing it to bloom for show. And maybe that's the real secret. Not youth, but presence. Listening to what your body is asking for and honoring it. So if you're not sure where to begin, start small. Keep a bottle of water near you. Choose a gentle, unscented moisturizer and use it whenever your skin feels dry. And maybe, once in a while, let your face go bare. Let breathe. It's not about turning back the clock. It's about choosing every day to care. And trust me, your body notices. Carmen doesn't follow keto. She doesn't count calories. She doesn't obsess over every bite or restrict herself with harsh rules. Instead, she listens. To her body, to her cravings, to what feels good, what gives her energy, what makes her feel alive. That really stood out to me. At 91, she's not eating to be skinny. She's eating to be well, to stay vibrant, to stay sharp, to enjoy her days. Every morning, she starts with something simple, a glass of lemon water. Then comes probiotic yogurt, good for digestion, good for the immune system, good for the gut. And most importantly, she always keeps water nearby. But here's the part that made me laugh and love her even more. She's addicted to ice cream. She says it with the kind of joy that makes you smile. Some women love handbags. I love ice cream. She says it without guilt, without shame, without that voice in the back of her head saying, you shouldn't. And honestly, that made me think, how many times have I skipped dessert, even when I really wanted it? How many times have I eaten a salad I didn't enjoy just because I thought it was good for me? But Carmen, she doesn't punish herself with food. She enjoys it. She respects it. And more than anything, she trusts herself. She doesn't force herself to eat steamed vegetables if she doesn't like them. She prefers them raw, crisp, fresh, because that's what her body wants. She cooks what she craves. She eats when she's hungry, not when the clock says it's time, not because a diet told her she should. And that made me realize something. Healthy eating isn't about being strict. It's about being attuned. So often we treat food like a battlefield, counting, controlling, fearing every bite. But Carmen treats food like a friend, like something to enjoy, not endure. I've started doing that too. Nothing extreme, just paying attention. If my body's craving something light, I go with fruit or salad. If I want something warm and comforting, I don't shame myself for reaching for a bowl of soup or a little scoop of mashed potatoes. And yes, sometimes I have ice cream, not the whole tub, just enough to smile. And you know what? That tiny scoop brings me more joy than a whole day of perfect eating ever did. Because food isn't just fuel, it's memory, it's comfort, it's love. Carmen reminded me that food should nourish both the body and the spirit. And sometimes a little bit of joy, like a spoonful of cold, creamy sweetness on a summer day, can do more for your well-being than a shelf full of vitamins. So no, you don't have to follow a perfect plan. You don't need to label foods good or bad. Just listen, pay attention, choose with kindness, and every now and then, have that ice cream. Let it melt slowly. Smile, because you're not just feeding your body, you're feeding your life. At 91, Carmen doesn't go jogging. She doesn't lift weights or follow some intense workout plan. Instead, she moves gently, mindfully, lovingly. She walks every day, usually with a friend. It's not about breaking a sweat or burning calories. It's about connection to her body, to the world around her, to the people she loves. But the thing that really touched me was her morning ritual. She said this in a video, and it stopped me in my tracks. Every morning, I lie in bed. I bend my knees, stretch my hips, open my arms. And I say, "Good morning, my body." At first, I chuckled. It sounded strange, a little silly, maybe, but then I thought, when was the last time I said anything kind to my body? Not, "You need to lose weight." Not, "Why are you aching again?" Not, "You're not what you used to be." But simply, "Good morning." So the next day, I tried it. I didn't get out of bed right away. I stayed under the covers. I moved slowly, rolling my ankles, flexing my fingers, stretching out my arms. And then I whispered softly, "Good morning, my body." And to my surprise, I cried. Not a big, dramatic cry, just a quiet release, like something inside me had finally been seen. I realized I'd spent years, maybe decades, being at war with this body, pushing it, criticizing it, ignoring it. But Carmen reminded me, this body has carried me through life, through joy and grief, through long days and sleepless nights. It's held babies, hugged friends, danced in kitchens, survived illness. And maybe now it's slower. Maybe it creaks more than it used to. But it's still mine. It still wakes up every day and shows up for me. And the least I can do is say thank you. Movement for Carmen isn't about looking young. It's about honoring the life still pulsing in her. A short walk, a few gentle stretches, just enough to say, "I'm still here. I still care." So I started walking again. Not far, not fast, sometimes just to the end of the block and back. And you know what? It feels good, not in a sweaty, gym kind of way, but in a soul-deep, heart-lifting way. I breathe. I move. I notice the sun on my face. And in those quiet moments, I feel alive again. So if you're like me, and the idea of exercise feels like a burden, maybe it's time to change the story. You don't have to lift heavy. You don't have to follow a routine. You just have to move with love. Start small. Stretch before you rise. Take 5 slow steps in your kitchen. Wave your arms while your coffee brews. And maybe, just maybe, say it out loud. Good morning, my body. Because no matter what age you are, it's still listening. And it's still grateful when you finally say hello. The 4th secret is so simple, it's almost easy to overlook. Just breathe. That's it. Carmen said something that stayed with me. When she's in pain, when she's overwhelmed or anxious, she doesn't panic. She breathes. Not shallow, rushed breathing. Not gasping for control. She takes a deep, intentional breath. And another. And another. And suddenly, she's back. Present. Grounded. Not swept away by whatever chaos life just threw at her. She said, when my body feels good, my mind feels good. I'm a partner with my mind. I don't let myself drift into confusion. And that struck me, because I've spent a lot of time drifting lately. You know that feeling, don't you? When everything feels like too much. The noise, the pressure, the silence, the uncertainty, the way people look at you like you've already faded away, like you don't matter quite as much anymore. Sometimes I sit alone in my living room, and I catch myself holding my breath, as if pausing my breath could somehow pause time, or hold off the ache in my back, or the weight of missing someone I've lost. But Carmen reminded me, when we breathe deeply, we return to ourselves. It's like telling your body, I'm here, I'm safe, I've got you. And the beauty of breath is, it's always with you. You don't need equipment. You don't need a class or a coach. You just need to stop for a moment and feel the air moving in and out. I tried it yesterday. Just sat in my favorite chair, closed my eyes, and took 5 slow breaths. I breathed in for a count of 4, held it for a count of 4, then breathed out for a count of 6. And something shifted. Not everything. The pain in my knees didn't vanish. The bills on the table didn't disappear. But my chest softened. My thoughts stopped racing. I felt more here. More me. And maybe that's the real secret. The older we get, the easier it is to lose connection with people, with purpose, even with our own bodies. But our breath? It's always there. Faithful. Gentle. Waiting for us to notice it again. Carmen's not selling some magic formula. She's lived through loss, heartbreak, pain, just like the rest of us. But she's learned how to stay calm in the storm, how to breathe through it, how to partner with her mind instead of letting it spiral. And now, I'm learning too. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or invisible or just tired of trying, don't force yourself to be strong. Just breathe, sit down, close your eyes if you want, and take one breath, then another. Let the chaos fade for just a moment. Let your breath remind you that you are alive and that life, even now, is still moving through you. Because sometimes that one deep breath is enough to begin again. This was the part that surprised me most. When Carmen, graceful, elegant Carmen, spoke openly, even playfully about intimacy and sex. She said, "Why should I give that up? That would be like giving up breathing." And I just sat there, stunned. Because how often do we hear someone in their 90s talk about this? Not with shame, not with embarrassment, but with joy, pride, and a sense of self-worth. For so long, we've been taught to think of intimacy as something that fades with age, something we grow out of, like it no longer belongs to us once the wrinkles come or the body changes. But Carmen challenged that. She believes that physical closeness, touch, affection, romance is not a luxury. It's a need, a real, human, life-giving need. And it doesn't vanish just because we've turned 70 or 80 or even 91. She's had 3 marriages. She's known heartbreak. She's been betrayed. She's lost every dollar she once had. And yet, she still believes in love. That touched me deeply, because I think for many of us, the older we get, the more invisible we start to feel. We're no longer seen as desirable or vibrant or romantic. Sometimes even our own families treat us like we've stopped needing that kind of connection. But Carmen reminded me, being loved, truly loved, is not about youth. It's about presence, tenderness, vulnerability, trust. And it's not always about sex either. Sometimes it's a gentle hand on your shoulder, a conversation in the dark, the feeling of being seen, being wanted, being known. She said something else I'll never forget. Every person deserves to be loved, whether it's romantic love or friendship. If you're lucky, you find both in one person. If not, you hold on to the pieces you do have. Isn't that beautiful? She didn't sugarcoat it. She admitted it's hard, that sometimes it's lonely, that not everyone will understand. But she also said, don't close the door. Don't shut down the parts of you that still want to connect. Because those parts are not shameful. They're sacred. And hearing her say that gave me permission. Permission to stop apologizing for wanting love. Permission to believe it's not too late. Permission to be open again, even just to the possibility. Since watching that video, I've called an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years. I've started saying yes to coffee invitations instead of brushing them off. And I've stopped thinking of myself as someone whose romantic chapter is over. Because who says it has to be? Carmen reminded me that intimacy is not defined by age. It's defined by the courage to stay open, to give, to receive, to feel. And maybe, just maybe, that's what keeps her so alive. So if you're watching this and you've been telling yourself that love is something that used to happen, stop. Love is not behind you. It's beside you. And it's still possible. Always. Underscore. That video made me realize something important. Living long is not the goal. Living healthy, happy, and authentically is what truly matters. And Carmen Dell'Orefice is the living proof of this. At 91, she is still beautiful, still in love, still working, still laughing, and inspiring the world. I'm sharing her story not just to admire her, but to send a message to all of us, the ones living the second half of life. You can still start over with new skin, a new habit, a new love at any time. Leave a comment if you were as amazed as I was. And if you found value in this video, please share it with someone you love, because they might need a spark of hope too. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, so together we can spread more stories that inspire and uplift us all.